have wanted for a while to write a blog post. I've been asked a few times to write a blog post about my birth story, but in the interest of having a baby that's 4 months old and running a business and all the things I've just blogged about, writing a blog post on my birth story hasn't really been a priority. But I feel like it's something that I want to journal down, so I'm just kind of making this video really for me to remember some stuff, really. Eva was born in this kitchen just over there 16 weeks ago, and my pregnancy had been pretty good. I had suffered with exhaustion. I think probably that was the thing I struggled with the most, was just exhaustion. And I had this real feeling like she was going to be massively overdue and that they would want to induce her. And I was really anti being induced for no other reason than a textbook said that it was dangerous. So when I got to day 12 overdue, and I'd just like to put in here, they changed my dates on a scan. They put them back. So by my date, she was actually only 14 days over, but they put them back. So on day 12, I had to start going into hospital for inductions. I'm really lucky. I live in Bristol, and Bristol are very supportive of natural birthing, of home birthing. I had never actually wanted a home birth, but the midwife had been quite supportive of it, and I had quite a few friends who had had them, and I really liked the idea of it. So I was sent into hospital on day 12 for monitoring. So they attach you to a heart rate thing for the baby, and they listen. And the problem we always had was she was always really too active, so they kept me in for ages until they got kind of a nice steady heartbeat. So I was in every day until she was born, and some days they were really supportive of the fact that I didn't feel the need to have her induced, and other times I came home in tears and pressure, thinking, oh my God, am I going to harm my baby? Am I doing the wrong thing? Like, it's just a really difficult thing to know. But randomly, those days were probably the days I felt the best in my pregnancy. And I kept saying that to the doctor. I was like, I feel really good. Like, and I had this one doctor, he was really great. And he just said, yes, there is a small risk, but there is a path that leads to that risk. And you are so far away from that path. So I think I'd got to the point where I thought I was just going to be pregnant forever. And on day 15, I had a friend round. We went for lunch. I ate a salad. I mean, that was stupid. If you knew you were going to go into labour, you would not eat a salad. You would like proper carb load. But I just, didn't think that was going to happen. And that was about 12 o'clock in the lunchtime. And then about 4ish, I could feel like some little things. But I've been feeling some little things for about a week, so I hadn't really thought too much of it. And I remember my friend saying to me, are you in pain? I was like, oh yeah, like a little bit. Yeah. But I think I was just so dismissive. I thought I was going into labour so many times in the 2 weeks that she was overdue. So I then went to Waitrose, and I got to Waitrose, and my best friend who lives quite far away rang me. And I was walking around Waitrose talking to her, and I was like, actually, I think I'm going to have to go. Like, I'm in quite a lot of pain, and I have to get some shopping. And it was really weird. Like, I put loads of really random things into my trolley that I ended up needing that night. So it was like some sort of thing took over me. So that was at 4:30. I rang my other half, Matt, and said, look, I'm in Waitrose. Like, there's no need to panic. You've got time, but I think, it's starting. And at 5, as I was leaving Waitrose, I rang him and was like, oh my God, I need you home now. Like, I don't think I can drive home. But I managed to get home. I had 2 contractions in the car coming home. I wouldn't advise it. And so I got home about 5:15. And it was blooming intense. Like, it just was so intense so quickly. I was kind of doing all my breathing. I then thought, I need to get in the bath, And because I had opted for a home birth, they sort of say, look, ring us up in advance and say, look, I think something's happening. Let us know. So I did that. And then she was like, oh, actually, it seems like your contractions, or your surges, as we call them in the hypnobirthing world, are actually, they're progressing. And when she called me back, I was in the bath because I just really wanted to get in the bath. And she was like, I think you should get out of the bath because it could stall it. And I was like, but the bath is so comfortable. I want to stay in the bath. But I managed to get myself out of the bath. And where I'm sat here now is I've got a big island in my kitchen. And one thing I wasn't prepared for was it being in my back and there being no break between surges. So it was painful. I don't like using the word pain. For me, A, I feel like pain is a negative word and it wasn't a negative thing. And B, pain is like the wrong word. It's just this completely different experience, really. And so the only thing that made me feel comfortable was to walk around the island. And I think I'm just going to put her down for a little nap, and I will come back to put the baby down for a little nap. I've got the monitor just behind the screen, so we'll see if she stays asleep. She's very tired at the moment. So I was in the bath. I rang the midwife, and they said, look, it's about 6 p.m. Our next shift starts at 8, so why don't we send somebody out at 8? So at 8 o'clock, the midwives came. At this point, I had literally been walking around the island in my kitchen. I've got quite a large island, and I've been walking around it. I felt like the only way for me to feel comfortable was to move, like literally. I had no breaks between surges or contractions at all. So that was quite intense. Like being on all fours didn't help, sitting didn't help, lying didn't help, like nothing helped, squatting, nothing. And so I'd walk around the island, and then when I'd get a contraction, I'd come down onto all fours, kind of really feel my sitting bones widen and open, and then I was fine. I had my clary sage oil. So the midwives came at 8, and they sort of observed me walk around the island, and they said to me, you're on the verge of if we'd send you home if you came in. And I think that's one of the really great things about home birth. It's like you get 2 midwives who come to you, and they, you don't have that going to hospital and being sent home. And they said, look, we can stay because you're on the verge, or we can go home and, go back to the hospital and come back in like 3 hours. And I said to them, I don't want to be this kind of first-time mum who doesn't know what she's doing, but I've just got this real urge that you need to stay for an hour. If after an hour I'm wrong, then you can go, but is that okay? And they were like, yeah, no problem. And within an hour, my waters had broken. I was in established labour. I got in my pool, so my pool was just behind me. And getting in the pool, I cannot tell you how amazing a birthing pool is. I think it had a few effects for me. One, my legs were shaking. By this point, I had been walking around my island for 4 hours, like solidly walking. I was really grateful to my Pilates lifestyle, even though I'd had to really slow it down, being heavily pregnant. But the physicality of labour was immense. I mean, I had like DOMS, like delayed onset muscle soreness, in my triceps from like hanging off my pool. But yes, I got in the pool, and I remember just being like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like it was just so good being in the pool, and that really helps. That was about 10:30, 11, something like that. I remember then getting to the point where it kind of definitely started picking up, and it was like 1ish, and I asked for some gas and air, but I didn't really have a lot of gas and air. I found it quite hard to do the hypnobirthing with the gas and air. I found that I couldn't quite do my breathing, so I would kind of like take a couple of sucks of the gas and air and then go back into my breathing. And I was amazed at how powerful the breathing was at keeping me calm, and just giving me a focus, really. I just had to go and sort the baby out. She sort of woke up and needed her head stroking back to sleep. So I was in the pool from 10:30 pretty much all the way through the night. It was really nice being in this space. It was dark. I had lots of blinky plonky music, some candles, some essential oils burning. The midwives are just really kind of in the background. Matt was really with me the whole step of the way. I couldn't get over how powerful some of the like soft touch massage that you often get taught was. And the midwife had some amazing things as well. She was doing kind of pushing on my sacrum. Like I said, it was very sacrum focused. I didn't feel anything in the front. It was just all in the back. And from about 2 a.m, they kept saying to me, you're really close, we can hear, you know, things are changing, we can hear you, and you're really close. And it got to like 4, and I did have a little bit of a breakdown. And I said to them, you've been telling me that I'm close for 2 hours, like I can't be. So at that point, they got me out of the pool. I had an examination. They said I was 8 centimeters. And I remember at that point just kind of going, oh my God, like I can't keep going. This is too intense. I can't keep going. And I remember breaking down and saying, I have no choices. I have a home birth. I have no choices. And she was amazing. You know, they're so good in Bristol at this. And she's like, look, if you were in the hospital, you're too late for pethidine anyway. You could have an epidural, but you really don't need one. Like, if you want one, we can take you in. You're only around the corner from the hospital, but you don't need one. And it was really weird. At that point, I regrouped. When I realised where I was, I regrouped. I went back to my breathing. I calmed. I think the hypnobirthing is really good for that. It's just always about bringing you back, this really central place. And I went to my downstairs loo. They wanted me to do a urine sample. I couldn't wee. My downstairs loo is by far the tiniest space in the house. It's just over in the corner of this room. And I remember just trying to wee and I couldn't. And then I just closed the door, turned the light off. And I obviously went into that, you know, you hear about people, they just want the smallest, darkest place, like an animal in a little cave. And I was in there for about an hour and a half. And that was the time really where it was really intense, but I was really spaced out, really, time went very, very quickly. And then I started to feel stuff very much happening. And I remember saying to the midwife, I want to get back in the pool. So she was heating the pool up. And she said, right, the pool's ready. And I said, I want to have her in the pool. So they put a towel down outside the toilet and put me down onto all fours. So we just want to quickly examine you. At this point, I was in the toilet for about an hour and a half. Matt actually went and had a sleep. It's really tiring being a birth partner. I was my sister's birth partner and it's really, really tiring. And I was down on all fours and they examined me and I saw one of the midwives just run to Matt to wake him up, like the baby is coming. And she said to me, right, I think we can get you up and in the pool, you know, do you feel like you can do that? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. And I literally, as I stood up, her head birthed. Like, I didn't push, it just birthed. And it birthed beautifully, apparently, like didn't tear, you know, it was all very fine, very intense, very quick. And then she said, right, we just need you to hold on now. We need you to just let all this tissue soften so that, you know, and literally I did nothing and she just exploded out of me. It was kind of quite a comedy moment where the midwife, it felt like she caught her. I mean, I'm sure she didn't, but there was like splatters all up. The Dulux endurance paint certainly lived up to its name. And yeah, she was born at 5:48 a.m. in the morning on my floor of my kitchen, and it was just lovely. I would really highly recommend a home birth to anyone. I had then opted to have delayed cord clamping on the placenta, which was fine. My cord was actually really, really short, so I kind of had to literally bring my bum down to my heels to be able to hold her, because the cord was so short. And then they want me to walk into the living room, so it's kind of like walking into the living room like in this crouched over position, where they then kind of examine me and they waited for me to deliver the placenta naturally. And what was really great was they actually just left her be attached to the placenta for the whole hour. I didn't quite make it. I was a bit annoyed. I didn't quite make it, and they're quite strict about this hour. So after an hour I did have the injection. Actually, it was the injection that made me feel really horrible, really, really dizzy. I felt fine until then. But obviously then that that got it out, and then at that point they cut the cord, and that was really great. You could see the cord was just completely kind of clear. She'd had all her blood. Like, I'm a big believer that's her blood, it's not my blood, it's her blood to have. And you know, she was so chilled that day. I did have to go into hospital. They suspected I had a 3rd-degree tear. I didn't. But my advice would be, if I had my plan again, I would totally opt for a home birth again. But any sort of procedure, like, I actually really liked being in hospital. I liked it being sterile. I didn't want to try and have to like put my leg up on my sofa. It was really nice to kind of be in that environment. They bought me a jacket potato. I got all my newborn health checks done. At 6 p.m. we were back home. We got a taxi back home. And the thing I know that really swung it, I've had a few really good friends who had home births, is this idea of you are back in your own bed, with your own shower, with your own sheets, with your own food. It was amazing. And Aoife slept that night for 7 hours. And I find this really interesting. If she'd been in hospital, we'd been in hospital, they'd have made me wake her up. And I was just of the belief, I was exhausted. I'd been up all the night before, and even that day in hospital I was really like wired. I couldn't sleep, Matt was sleeping, baby was sleeping, I was just really awake. So I was really tired that night, and she slept all that night, and she has been a very good sleeper ever since. Now, whether that's because I just got a golden ticket, but I do believe that I'd had this nice pregnancy. I'd been, you know, really trying to look after myself and not be too stressed in my pregnancy. I had this lovely home birth. She was in her own bed. Like, we had no sort of horrible, sort of stressful bright light hospitals and things like that. And I think, you know, from then on really, she only ever really woke once in the night for a feed, and very quickly got back to sleeping through the night. And she still loves to sleep. She's still a really, really chilled out little baby. So that's what they say, don't they? They say about home births, is that happens. Whether I would have had that anyway, who knows? But I loved my home birth experience. I managed the fear of it in terms of risk. People ask me about this all the time. In Bristol, we have this amazing midwife-led centre. I know lots of places have them. The midwife-led centre is further away from the hospital than me. My hospital, I can virtually see it from my upstairs window. I'm really, really close to the main hospital. So if something had gone wrong, I was closer to the hospital than the midwife-led centre. That really reassured me. I had 2 midwives here. They're so experienced in Bristol. They're very on it. As soon as they think anything's going wrong, long before it's a problem, you know, you're in the hospital, and that's what they do. I've heard a few dads say this, and Matt certainly has reiterated this, that the dads have this amazing role to play. Like, this is their land. They know where everything is. They know where the towels are. You know, Matt had towels in and out of the dryer all night to keep me warm in the pool, over my shoulders. He was getting bits and bobs. He was making cups of tea. He was sorting out the pool. Like, I think that was really great. Like I said, I've been a birthing partner of my sister, and you do feel like it's a long process, and you don't really know what you're supposed to do apart from like hold hands and, you know, stuff like that. So it was a really, really positive experience, and I felt very safe. I liked the fact that I had control over my environment. I wasn't going to turn up to hospital and be told there's no pool, or the midwife centre's full, or I knew, all being well, this is how it was going to be. And if it wasn't here, it was because I needed to go to the hospital anyway. So that was really, really good for me. I also felt like I never needed to monitor my times. I never needed to monitor my contractions. I never needed to think, when do I need to go in? I was just able to just be in the moment, breathe, and just stay really, really centered. So I believe my times were something along the lines of an 8-hour. They counted it as an 8-hour labour and a 17-minute second stage, which my sister, who's now a midwife, tells me is more like a second baby sort of time. I really wouldn't have wanted it to go on any longer. I found it a very, very intense experience. I might be sat here talking to you about my beautiful home birth experience, but it was bloody hard work and very intense. I had no breaks between contractions. I found I was on the edge of what I could really cope with, but I had this amazing hypnobirthing training, and obviously my work as a Pilates teacher, I teach breathing a lot, and I think that really, really helped me. And I just had this belief that me and my daughter, as she was to become, I didn't know she was a girl then, but me and my daughter would do this together. We would work this out together. And I've kind of tried to keep that approach as a mum. Like, we're learning this together. We're working this out together. And so that is my birthing story. I would definitely big up home births. I would big up the midwife-led centres if you've got those near you. And oh my God, a birthing pool. Like, I don't know what I'd have done without my birthing pool. It was immense. The relief off my legs, like I said, I've been walking, and also it took your pain down by an enormous amount. I remember somebody saying to me that a birthing pool and gas and air is the very best combination you could have, and I would certainly reiterate that. I thought it was interesting how when I had that moment where I nearly broke, if I'd been in hospital, I think I'd have taken something or had an epidural. So while someone could say, yeah, but isn't it awful that you didn't have that choice? For me, I was really amazed by when I regrouped myself, the power that I had within me, how I was able to kind of go, okay, this is where I'm at, I'm good. I go back to my breathing and see where it takes me. And I found that really amazing. So that was my birth story. I'd be really interested to hear any of your home birth stories. Thank you.